Hello there, it's Sandy, and I'm excited to be back at my Babylock Solaris again today to work on some machine embroidery, only this time it's edge-to-edge quilting on this cute little Halloween quilt. I am taking a class tomorrow on bindings, and I wanted to have something quilted for that class, so I have a very aggressive goal to finish the quilting stitches through all three layers of this quilt, through the top, the batting, and the backing, um, for tomorrow's class. So we'll see if I get it done. I'm going to get started right away since I have a long way to go. So as you can see, I'm at the Babylock home screen. And one of the things I wanted to share with you is that before I started this, I used the process I'm about to show you really quick in the beginning, the setup screen, to determine what would be the difference if I used my 10 5/8 hoop by 16 versus the Babylock 10 by 10 hoop, because I've used this frame for the first two quilts that I did edge to edge, and I wanted to try the 10 by 10. When I plugged in those numbers for my quilt, it showed me that for this hoop, the larger one, it only takes 25 rehoopings, which it sounds like a lot, but it goes pretty fast. Versus the 10 by 10, which would have been 56 rehoopings. And there's some advantages to using the smaller frame as far as, working around the fabric and maneuvering the hoop, and when you feed it through. I really think there's a benefit to using the Babylock hoops, but I want to get this done fast, so I'm just going to use this hoop and just rehoop 25 times. So now we're going to get started. I'm going to go to the setup screen. So I'm going to go to embroidery, and then here's the quilting screen. Up here, number 4 is where there's edge-to-edge designs, machine assisted guidance is located. There's 10 designs. I wish they would come out with more of those that we could feed in. I think that would be so cool because there's so many beautiful quilting designs out there. But we have 10 to choose from. And I used this one on my first, number 2 on my first. I believe I used number 1 on my second quilt. Now I'm going to use the stars because I think this little swirly one, that would be cute too. See that one? That one is really cute too. Let's see what that looks like on a larger screen. Let's see here. It doesn't really show you, but it's more like it's kind of like a stipple. Maybe that's what it's called. I don't know. But I'm going to go back and choose the other one and see what that looks like. So the stars, I kind of like the stars. So I'm going to go with that and press set. And now here's the screen where I plug in the size of my quilt. It's already in the box at the top, which is the width. So I'm going to plug in 4-3, which is 43 inches, and press set. It plugs that number in there and pops down to this box. And I type in 60. That's the length, and I press set. Then if you want to change your hoop size, you can do that here, but I was already on the right hoop, 10 5/8 by 16. So I'm going to go ahead and press next, but notice that that does give you a little bit more information. How many rows are, how many hoops are across and how many rows are down. So, and then the hoop size, I believe that's like the quilting area that it quilts for each hooping. So we'll press next. And this is the screen where it's just giving me the numbers. I can double check that they're the right ones. It shows me 25 pieces or rehooping. So press memory. It's going to tell me that it put it in the machine's memory. Do I want to embroider? And I press OK. Yes. So now we're at the first step of the embroidery screen. And this is where I would pick that design that I just saved. So it shows there's 25 hoopings on this one. That's the one I pick. This first box shows the 25 hoopings. That's the machine guided instructions and process. Those ones over here are not machine guided. I've tried those. So I usually go here. I'm not sure why those are there, but it shows 4 hoopings for A1, A2, A3, A4, A5. So there's 5 rows 4 hoopings, and then it's showing there's one more on each of those rows. I'm assuming that's to the far right. That's the one, the last hooping on the far right. Why it displays it that way, maybe it's so you can go back, but I haven't, I know that those are not machine guided. So I'm going to use this number 1, which is the 25 steps machine guided assistance. And I have in my previous videos showed if you want to stop, like say if I got halfway and I was like, this is too much, I can't finish, I can make note of where I left off. And then I showed in my previous videos of how you can pick up to go back to that starting point and still have the machine guided instructions. So I thought that was key and something that was really good to know when I did my first two quilts. But for today, right now, I'm just going to pick 25, this first one. That's all 25 hoopings, and press set. And wait for the computer. It says begin sewing from the upper left corner. Attach the frame in the initial sewing position. So it's mostly focusing on, does my upper left corner look good? Am I going to start from a really good starting point? And so it's just telling me that right now. Then it's telling me on the next screen, I can use the move pattern keys to align the upper left corner of the pattern area with the upper left corner marking of the area to be embroidered. And to me, that just means I have in my mind, I guess you could mark it. I think when I read back in the instructions initially, they said to make a line around the outside. I never do that. Maybe other people do. But I just kind of know visually from doing this twice about where I want it to start. So it's just telling me you can use those move pattern keys to get to your best starting point in the upper left corner. So I'll press OK, and it moves me over there. And now, if you look, it's the projector is shining down the design, the stars, and there is a crosshair, but it's right at the edge. And I don't like to be that close to the edge. So I'm going to use these move pattern keys, the one it talked about in the previous screen, to move it over so that I can see that crosshair right here. It's off the edge. I don't have to worry about this foot getting caught on that, and I don't have to tape it down. So I'm going to see how that goes. Now I also want to move it up a little bit because I don't have to have I don't have to have it right at the top. Once again, you don't want to get it caught on the lip of the fabric. And so I like that starting point, and I'm going to press OK. Now it's telling me, this is just instructions. It's just read these instructions, and then on the next screen, you can use the keys it's talking about. Use the rotate keys to adjust the angle of the pattern while keeping an eye on the points around the pattern. So that's saying you can use the rotate key. Say if I noticed that it was too far up, I could use the rotate key to rotate it down. And that's what we'll do on the next screen. So I press OK. Now here I'm pretty high up, and I can use these keys down here to kind of check. See, I'm way down here, and then over here I'm way up. So I'm going to rotate probably if I go over these, you can rotate down 10 degrees or 1 degree or 0.1 degree. And you can go up the same amount, 10 degrees up, 1 degree up, 0.1 up. I'm only going to do 1 degree down and see how I look. And then I just use those keys here to make sure I like about where I am over here. And I think I'm going to use the 0.1 to just get down a little bit more. And I think that I'm right there now. So I'm right here at the green crosshair there. That's about, I would say, a good 1/4 of an inch or more from the outside and from the top. And same here. Maybe I'll just do 0.1 more. Okay, so we're good there. Now I'm going to actually test one more thing, since this is the starting point. down this side, I also want to make sure the angle, I didn't angle it off, you know, that wouldn't be good. So I'm going to go push these move buttons. I'm still here, a little bit close. See, I'm glad I checked this. This is the bottom part and it's right at the edge. So I think I'm going to angle it back up. And I'm just using the 0.1 button. And now I'm going to use this. I'm going to go back up to the top. Then I'll go over. So I'm still down below. I'm still off. So I can use that button. Go down one more time. I did not go off of the fabric. So I think I'm okay. I'm going to press OK. These buttons here, you only use them. I've only used them in the far right side. Sometimes you have to use them in between, but mostly I've used them when I get to the far end on the right or the far bottom. And so I won't be using those keys right now. So I pressed that. Now it should start stitching. And I can watch how this sews out just to make sure I like about where it's at. If it gets too close, say I made a mistake, I could just press my stop button and reassess things. But as you can see, it's making the first stars, the first couple stars. And since I'm going to try to leave you zoomed out so that I can have you look at both screens while I'm working on this. And maybe when I get to the end of the video, I'll zoom in case you want to actually watch it stitch out. But it shows that the whole stitch out for this hooping is only 2 minutes. So 5 rows, 5 times 2 is 10 minutes to actually stitch out. That's how much stitching time there is up here, 2 minutes per hooping. And so that means 10 minutes for stitch time, I was saying. But if you factor in the time that it takes to like take the fabric and move it across the hoop, that takes a little bit longer. And I would guess it takes about more like 5 or 6 minutes per hooping. So after doing this is my 3rd time, I'm thinking that, you know, I'm probably going to take more like 30 minutes to go across if everything goes well. To go across the first row. And so far I'm good as far as not catching the fabric on my hoop. I didn't have to tape things down. And I like the way that the thread looks on the quilt. I'm using, I don't know if I showed you this because I've retaped this a couple times, but this is Deco Bob and it's 80 weight. And because it's a very lightweight thread, it sinks in real nice. It's not real noticeable. Okay, so this is what I like to do. I like to take like a sticker or a piece of tape, and just for my own eyeballs, I put a little mark where it left off on the far right. So now it's making this mark here, it's making to help us to line up that next row when we move it down. But right now we don't need it. It's asking me if I want to connect the next pattern. So I say, okay. I've already applied that little sticker. So it's telling me rehoop the fabric to the right while including the right edge of the pattern on the left in the hoop. I don't know about you, but when I read those instructions, I feel like it's Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. You know, it's just saying move the fabric across. When you're doing that, you want to make sure you keep this kind of level because right now it's in the center of the hoop. As soon as we say okay, it's going to advance the foot over in this direction, because it's, you know, thinking that we've already moved the fabric through. But this is how we would move the fabric through. We usually move that up to the top. And then I just kind of keep an eyeball. I keep my eye to see if, you know, that I kind of move it across evenly and about where I should be. And I've had to rehoop because I'm not, you know, when I first get started with the process, I don't always do it right. So, but we'll see where we're at. And you can also remember that I have intentionally left a certain amount, like this amount is at the side, and I have a good 2 inches at the top. That's where I started off. And so when I'm doing this rehooping, I'm trying to keep all those things in mind. Plus, you got to make sure that you squeeze the edges, get things pulled taut, get your safety pins out if you use safety pins. I did both. I did I used some adhesive spray near the top and the bottom, and then I used the let's see, what was I saying? Oh, I used the safety pins as well. Okay, so let's see. Now we'll say okay, and I advanced it forward, so I moved it across. I'm checking now to make sure that things look straight. So the line looks straight down here. The edges are squeezed so that I don't accidentally stitch over the frame, the embroidery frame. Now I'm going to press OK, and it will move over here somewhere. Oh, it's also telling us to use, it's just reminding us before it moves over to use those move pattern keys to get that to line up with this mark. So now we're moved over. Now I got to see if I moved enough. So I'm going to use these move pattern keys to get to this mark. And I'm going to take that off because I can better see. This is where the thread ended. And that's where I want it to start because it's connecting this set of stitching to this next frame of stitching that it's going to do. I'm just double checking that I don't have my fabric under the hoop. All right, so it looks like I just need to come a little bit more over. And now the crosshair is lined up good. So that's good. And I'm going to press OK. Now it's giving me those angle keys. So I want to check to see if my angles are still good. If they aren't, I can use those rotate keys again to move the angles about. So I'm going to press OK. Okay, so we've got a good amount here. I'm going to come across and just double check that I'm still okay there. I think that I need to angle myself this way. And if you don't think you got your angles right, you can just do the reverse. Like if I'm going down, it doesn't look like I'm doing it right, then I can go up. I'm just going to double check. That's the bottom. I think the design is only stitching out the set amount that we saw in that setup screen. So I'm going to go back up. And here we are. We're at the top. And it's still at the top. I'm also checking that line. And I think I'm still good. I'm just going to check one more time because it's a dark fabric. There's the crosshair. And there's the crosshair. So I think we're good. Press OK. And now it's ready to sew. And it's going to connect the previous set of stitching to this new set. And I hope my head didn't get in the way when I was re-hooping. Sometimes it's impossible. Your whole body's got to get in there. Now the rest of the hoopings across the top row will be a similar process. So it's just going to ask me when it's done stitching over here, it'll make that ending mark, and then it'll sew that little dot over here, and the instructions will come up again about moving the fabric through to meet up with that end mark. So you're going to move it across. And make sure you just try and keep it aligned when you're moving it across. Because sometimes if you move it too high, you set your hoop, get it all set to go to stitch out, and then you find out, oh man, I did not move the fabric through right. So then you got to take the hoop off and pull the fabric in different directions to get it to line up to that first mark, because you want that ending mark to connect, the ending mark of the previous frame to connect to the beginning mark of the next frame, and you don't want it to be like that far off. I have fixed that one came kind of close, but we're still okay. I have fixed it where it's maybe it was like 1/4 of an inch in between the ending and the beginning marks. You just wait to the end. I just make like put a little piece of tape on there, and then I can always go back and put the regular sewing foot on there and connect the two marks. That's the worst case scenario. But once you do it a couple times, I think you'll get better at it, at pulling the fabric through and lining things up. So there we go. I'm going to keep my eye on that mark. This is just helpful for me because of my eyes. And it's sewing the ending mark, or that's the next row mark. That's what I call it. Now it's telling us embroidery is finished, okay to continue. And I'll say, okay. Now it's just telling us to rehoop. So you can read the instructions, and I'll work on pulling it through. So I'm holding my hand down on that mark and just trying to pull it across so that I keep it level, because that helps me not to have to rehoop. Then I'm just kind of eyeballing this mark across, and I don't know, I'm not too graceful with moving this through, but you get better at it as you go. We're trying to make sure everything looks level as I pull things through. Same routine, take out the safety clips, the safety pins, pull the fabric taut, squeeze the hoop in all directions, and I think I'm close. All right, let's see. And now it's just reminding me about the angles and how I can use the rotate keys. Okay, so I got to get up to this mark. So I'm going to use the move keys and try and get over this dot. And I'm not that far off, so I'm going to move it over using the move keys to go down and then over a little bit. So now I've matched up this mark right at the crosshair. Just double checking things once again. Okay, think things are going good. So I like to run these directional keys just to see how straight I am. and I'm right at the top. It is kind of going up, so I might have to angle it down. Well, I can fix that in the next screen, so I press OK. Then it's going to remind me about the rotate key, so I press OK. And I'm still okay at the top here, so it could be that, you know, the way I cut the fabric, which is very likely. Just double checking things. All right, I don't think I have to rotate. I'm pretty close to the top here, but I don't think I'm going to go over because I can see the line of stitching. I can't really move it down at this point, so I'm going to just say okay and press go. When I get to the top, I can use this little purple thing. It helps to hold down, and we'll see how we are. Here's the little witch. What's really funny is I thought in my last two quilts it actually stitched down more. So it could be just the star design, because I know I put in the right size hoop. It could just be the design. And I think I mentioned that each of these hoopings takes 2 minutes to stitch out. And hopefully we'll get across the whole top row. And if that goes well, we'll go down a row and do a couple. Because I think you'll get the general idea after we just do that much. Otherwise the video gets too long. Now I'm going to watch this part when it comes down and goes around, just to see, to make sure everything is pretty flat, but it can still catch on that edge. I probably should have just gone down like a whole ½ inch. Yeah, it's good because it's stitching it down. There, so we're fine. Yeah, and I remember we were up higher over here, so we're good. I do like the way it's stitching out. I've had issues with tension in the past, and it looks, for this sandwich, it's looking good. Okay, I'm going to put my little mark down while it's moving over to this corner. I'm going to continue, so I'll press OK. And press that down a little bit more. It's just reminding me to move the fabric across. I try to put that on the inside so it's out of the way. And then I'll move it across. Just trying to keep my eyes focused on that dot. This is number 3, right? And then holding that fabric so that I don't lose my marking location, the starting point for the next hoop. I want to be kind of close to, and see now, I can see by looking at this fabric, it's angling, so I have to pull that more. And if you're a quilter, you're probably saying, no, don't do that, you're stretching the fabric. But it's quilted on this side, so I should be okay with that. Now I'm doing the pinching, making sure that this is lined up here. Just doing a quick double check here. And I think we're good. Okay, I'll pull down. After a while, these little circles, with sticky circles, they lose their stickiness. So I see it was pulling too far over. So there we go. Now I'll press OK. It's going to remind me about using the rotate key. It's just instruction screens, and then it moves me to that point where I should be, but I'm not. So I'm going to go over and up just to get myself lined up with that little. Okay, so I'm pretty close. I think that's close enough. This is the button that you can push, the key that you can push if you've done like some movement here. Let's say I'm doing some checking here, and I can see that I'm way up, so I could actually pull that up too. It means I could have done that in the last one too. Maybe I didn't check that part good enough. But I can see like I'm lined up good there. And I'm not off here, it's below. And so I've done that check. Now if I want to go back and check this to make sure I'm still lined up here, I press that button. And I still am. So we're good. Yes. Okay, I'm gonna press OK. And now it's telling me I can use the rotate keys, but I could tell by how I looked at, when I looked at it the last time, that it was okay. But here's the rotate keys. Again, I could use those if I wanted to rotate 10, 1 degree, or 0.1. And if I needed to shrink it, so far I have not used those enlarge or decrease width, increase length, decrease length. I have not had to use those yet. So we'll get there. So I'm going to press OK because I don't need to do that here. I'm going to press OK. I'm going to press start because it will go to the end mark, connect them, and start stitching out. So while it's stitching, I can try and move you in so you can look a little bit more. I'm trying to figure out how to use this stand I got to work with my tablet. It's kind of a cheapy stand, cheap old stand, and so sometimes when I have it angled in a certain direction, because the tablet's heavier, it likes to sag, droop down, and then, not by much, but it does like to do that. So since the right side of the quilt is getting heavier, I'll do a check on that to make sure, it's not too heavy. And this isn't a very big quilt, so it's probably not a big deal, but I always like to check on those kinds of things. Plus, right now I have it, the bottom of the quilt, hanging on top of a drawer I have below this machine, because I don't like it to pull down. I don't like to put any extra tension on there than there needs to be, because that can impact your design. So if there's a way you can set up your machine on a big table, that would probably be helpful. But I have a stand-up desk that I use because of everything in my craft room has to be ergonomically good for my body, because I have back, neck, and knee issues, and I don't want to add to it. This purple thing is really handy, and I use it all the time. I got this thing from my local sewing store. I got this frame there, the fabric there, the machine there. That's a great little store near me, the sewing source in Lake Villa, Illinois. If you want to help a small sewing shop, you can check out my description. If you get to the very bottom, I have a link to their website. So there we go. We're at the next hooping already. It's going super fast. Once again, it's making the next row mark. And I'm not going to zoom you into the computer part because I showed that for the preceding hoops. So I'm going to do what I did last time. Only this time I'm taking out the safety pins before I move it across. And if anything changes, I'll move you in and then show you in detail what I'm doing. But otherwise, I'm doing the same thing as I did in the other rehoopings. So this is the last hoop in the row on the right. So I'm just doing the same thing, lining things up, making sure that angles look right on the fabric as far as how I'm hooping it. And I can move you back in case you want to see the next screen. So here's, I'm just doing it, pulling it taut, making sure that the hoop is lined up. We got it pulled through and everything looks good there. Okay, so I want to connect. This is interesting. It's telling me to rehoop the fabric to the right, which I already did. Check the angle using the pattern keys. Okay, so here's the marking. So I got to go up. I'm going to take that little thing off. And then I can move it down. And move it over a little bit. I try to get like lined up with the, like leave one stitch there so it can like do its own little, you know, stitch over the last one so that it's more secure. And I'm going to press OK because I marked that up. And you can use these buttons here to check how things are lined up now before it gets to the next screen. So I think I'm going to pull that up a little bit just because that helps. Okay, when we get to this next screen, you're going to see me use those keys, the size keys. So right now, I'm just checking how it looks across the top, and that looks good. I'm going to press this key because I want to go back to my end point to make sure it's still marked up after I pulled it, and it actually is not. So I'm going to do that. Make sure that I stayed there where I should. And I'm going to press OK. It's reminding me about the angle keys. And my angle, to me, looks good. Yeah, I think it's fine. So I probably could have moved the fabric up a tad bit more, but I already did the first marking, so I'm not going to change it. So these keys here, make sure you can see it. This is where I can make it shorter or wider. And because it is off here, the red line's outside of it, I want to decrease the width. I want to shorten it. Okay. And I might even put the angle down a little bit. And I'll double check and use those buttons, the move keys. Okay. I'll double check here. I think that's good. All right. So I'm going to press OK because I already did the shorten. So that moves the whole pattern over. And it takes the size of the pattern and I think it shrinks it a little bit so that it fits in the hoop. Press OK. And now I'll press go. Yeah, I think I need a couple more of those purple things because it's disappeared. I'll go get my other one. Oh, I think I moved that too. Well, I have something that's similar. I'll just use this thing. Oh, okay, I see it fell in my drawer. And I can watch with this thing to make sure, you know, I eyeball that right and I don't go off the edge. I can always hold this down. But if you ever do that, keep it away from the needle screw on the right. You don't want this to hit. That happened to me once. Yeah, it's looking good. So what are we? We're at 41 minutes and we've done the whole first row. So that's pretty good. There we go, we're good. There we are. We're at the end of the first row. Gonna make that last beginning of the new row mark. And it should tell us to move it down to the next row now, if all goes well. Oh, that's right. It's at the end of the first row, so it makes 2 marks. Forgot about that. Okay, do we want to connect? Yes. I'm going to press OK. Getting those instructions. Now it's saying the row is finished. To start the next row, rehoop the fabric to the left edge of the next row while including the thread mark of the upper pattern in the hoop. So that just means move it down and across. So the first one's always the most challenging because you gotta get it just so. But we're lining up those top 2 rows up. And we'll see if my rule of thumb works. That I kind of, let's see here, get it set up about how I had it when I hooped the first one. And we'll see how close I am. Otherwise, the rest is the same. It's just getting the fabric in there good. Making sure the angles look good. And it's giving me instructions now, so I'll say okay. Then it's saying to, you know, check the pattern keys. If something's off, you can always move it. So it's moving me over to the upper corner and I'm a little bit off. See the marks there and I'm way up. So I just want to make sure things are straight as they can be with the fabric in the hoop before I move those use the move buttons. All right, and get it rolled over. Okay, so I'm way up here, so I can use this to bring myself down. Now I'm at the top left mark right here. So it's showing me where I'm at. Make sure that I squeeze. I probably do this a couple times. All right, so we did that. Now I'm going to press OK. It should give me that angle. Yeah. So it's telling us now use the rotate keys and the size keys so I can make it longer if I need to get to that second mark. But I'm just going to press OK. All right, so I'm way over here. So I think I can angle down. I'll just do a quick check. Yeah, I'm way here. I'm good here, but I'm up here. So I'm going to angle down there. And now I am outside of this, the second dot. And so I'm going to shorten it a little bit, just get it inside. And then I'm going to check my lines again to make sure I'm still good there. I'm still good. I also do this. I check to make sure everything looks good down. Okay. And that still looks good. So I'll press and go up to the top one more time. I eyeball that too if I have a straight line. Okay, and I'll just go in one more, maybe down one more tenth. Okay, press OK. And it should be fine now. So I stitch. So as you can see, everything, well, hopefully you can see, is, you just make sure your lines look good as you face the fabric. 2 more minutes of stitch out time. Now, I want to share the next thing with you because I think you'll probably understand by now. After doing this first row down, we got it lined up. It was pretty easy. This is the next one. We're going to line up that ending mark. We're going to pull the fabric through, line up the ending mark of this frame to the beginning mark to start up with the beginning of the next frame. So we'll do that the same way as we've been doing up in the row above it. But I think it also gives you the opportunity to angle, you're matching up the first mark on the left over here, and then there's that other mark over here, and you just kind of make sure that it stays aligned. But, so I can, after I show you that, I can show you, like, if I wanted to stop, how I could stop and start again. And then that way you have everything you need. If you weren't a crazy person like me and trying to do all the quilting in one night, you can always go back to it the next morning. You don't have to worry about leaving your machine on. I did that once because it was my first time. I was kind of afraid to turn it off because I didn't know about this trick. And then I left it on, and in the middle of the night, like there was a thunderstorm. That was the next day. And I was concerned that, you never want to leave a very expensive machine, any machine on during a thunderstorm with lightning that could trip your electricity and cause havoc. You don't even want to think about it. So there's the end mark. And so knowing this trick has been really helpful. I won't be using it tonight because the goal is to get it done tonight. I'm already on the second row, so it's going to happen. I just know it. But I can show you in case you need it, because I have shown the trick in two other previous videos. But it would be nice to have it here too. All right, it's asking if I want to connect, and I'll press OK. Bringing up the next instruction. It's saying to move it. making sure you keep the right edge of the pattern on the right and the thread mark of the pattern above. I read that and I'm like, what? Just move it over and line up the two marks. I don't know why. So I'm going to keep my eye on this mark as I move it across, because that's been helpful to me so far. And that way I know too that I'm moving it off so that at the top will have a better chance of matching up. There's my frame. I'm going to roll this side out a little bit. And I'm going to check the angle of the stripe. Whatever you got to work with, use it to help check how you're lining things up. And then, see, I can tell by the stripe that I'm not quite there. And I can pinch while I'm on the one side, take out the safety pin. Pinch while I'm on this side. Make it taut. It's a really cute pattern. Okay. And worst case, sometimes you can even pull on the fabric. If you've said okay and things don't line up the way you want, sometimes you can move the fabric. Press okay. I think I'm okay. I might be too far over, but we'll see. I might not have pulled it through enough. Press OK. It's just reminding us about moving, using the move keys to align the start point with the end point. And it moves us over. Now, I may be, like I said, I think I might have to move myself over, but we'll see. I'm going to go down and take that off. And I think I'm way over here. So yes, I did not move it through. It's probably a good thing that, this happened, because then you'll know. So I'm just like I was close. I'm just pulling it across. And I'm going to go down. Okay, we're very close now. Didn't take much to get lined up. Okay, so there's lined it up with like the very last stitch. I don't do it but like head to head. I do it like on top of the last stitch. That's how I've been doing it. Okay, so that looks good. And I'm going to press OK. Going to give me those reminders again about using the rotate key and the size key. Okay, so here's my mark. I'm going to go over to this first mark. Yes, I need to definitely move this fabric over. Okay, hopefully it's still lined up there. I guess I didn't check that mark. So you not only have to check to make sure that you're lining up with this and this. So I'm going to press OK. And let's see how it looks. You know what? I don't like what I just did. So I will teach you this trick. I'm going to put this here just to remind me. Need to mark that up. I think I advanced myself too fast. So what I'm going to do is get through this screen and go back to this hoop. So this is the trick. I mean, at this point, you could imagine that you shut down your machine, or you can use this trick for this case too if you advance too much and you're like, well, how do I fix this? How can I start over in this frame? So you can use it for that, or you can use it for if you shut down your machine and you want to restart at the hoop where you left off. The first thing you got to do is write down, like, where did you leave off? So there was 5 hoopings across the top, and we just stitched hoop 6. So we're in hoop 7. So I'd make a note of that. So then to get past this hoop and get out of it, to go back, this is what I've been doing. Actually, you do the plus minus, and then I go back to 6 and then over to 7 and press OK. And it restarts me at 7. So now, you know, I've already moved the fabric through. I don't need to do that. So I press OK. Now it's telling me to use the move pattern keys to align the start point with end point. So see, we're back. And now I'm going to move this down like I did last time, because I have to do this part over again. And then over. And then down. Okay, we're good there. Now I'm kind of eyeballing how things look. I'm going to go to the top and see where I'm at. I'm almost right on that first mark. So I think that's good. So I press OK. Now it'll give me those reminders about using the rotate keys. And I won't space out and just press OK by mistake like I did last time. On the next, after this screen. So now it's giving me that opportunity to angle up or down, and it looks like my angle is good, but it's a little bit short. So I'm going to actually make it a little longer, but because of the fact that I hooped too far over, I did not hoop it over far enough. I did not pull the fabric through enough to meet up with that ending mark, because remember, I had to really move it down this time compared to the other ones I've stitched out. So I had to push, you know, I had to move the frame around, and now I'm right at the edge. So it won't let me widen it anymore. So that's a lesson that I have to remember, because you always want to make sure you get an eyeball of about where that mark is. So if I make a mental note for next time, it's like a quarter of the way down from the top, that row mark. And so is the one across from it. So when I'm pulling the fabric through, I keep a mental note of that, and that this mark is, you know, that much farther down. So about, I guess I could look at the hoop markings too. Maybe that would help. So, all right. So we already checked. I think we've done as good as we could on this hooping. So I'm going to press OK, because I'm only like a hair, like 1/8 of an inch off. To meet that mark on the right side. So I'm going to press OK. And we can stitch. And it matched up perfectly. So I'm glad we had that little workaround that I showed you. The segment keys can be found under, if I just summarize this again, the needle plus minus. That's where if you're in a hoop, and you're like, oh no, I pressed the key. Well, the instructions just keep going forward, forward. If you need to go back, you can use this as long as you make sure that you pick the right frame. So I knew that I had gone 5 across the top, and we stitched out the first one, which is 6. We're on 7, and that's why I wanted to start. So I pressed the key, needle plus minus. Then I was on 7, so I pressed to go back to 6. And then I just pressed to go forward to 7, and I pressed OK. And then it took me to the beginning of the machine instructions so that I could continue to follow the process. Maybe you don't need to follow the machine instruction process, but I like them, and I like it because I don't do a lot of edge-to-edge quilting, and to have the process guide me is helpful. Yeah, I've only done 3 edge-to-edge quiltings on a real quilt since I got the machine in a year. I've been doing a lot of machine embroidery and other kinds of things. But because the edge-to-edge quilting has been spaced out, you know, over a long period of time, I don't do it very often. They say if you don't use it, you lose it. Well, that's true for me anyway. So just to confirm, since we are on hoop 7, moving on to hoop 8, I'm making a mental note of this because I want to show you that trick now. I know I showed you it kind of quick when I needed to share that workaround because I had skipped the screen. I pressed OK too fast and I wanted to go back and not keep going forward. I wanted to make sure I had things lined up right. So now I'll show you that little trick for if, say, I wanted to stop right here and, you know, call it a day. That's what I'll show you now. Okay, so, I say I'm very tired. I want to shut things down. So I'm making a mental note that I'm on hoop 8. So 5 across the top, 2 on the bottom, that's 7 we've done. We're on to 8. I'll press cancel and then I'll go to home and press OK. So how do you get back to the machine guided instructions? This is how I found is the quickest way. If you know any other way, let me know. But I go into embroidery. I pick the pocket because I'm using this first design that we saved with the 25 hoops. I go into that first screen with the 25 hoops. I press set. Now it wants me to, it's acting like it's at the beginning. I don't want to start at hoop 1. I want to start at hoop 8. So I'm going to press OK. I'm going to have to press OK 5 times, I believe, to get through these screens. And the hoop will move. That's 3. That's 4. That's 5. So this is where at the plus minus. I'm at 1, but I want to be at 8. So I'm going to press the forward button until I get to 8. Press OK. And now it's telling me to rehoop. So now I can start. I can start all over again. And this has worked really well for me. And when I pull it through this time, I'm trying to make a mental note of what I learned last. So here's my first marking. Roll out the I think I'm closer this time. Taking out the safety pins. I was going to stop after this, but after I get it lined up, I'll stop. Because I've shown you the trick. I've shown you, and I'm kind of like lining up 6 and 6. I guess that would help too. If I kept an eye on that. You know what? This is very low. I hear my dog barking. I guess I should call it a night because I got to go check on the dog. But you get the idea, and you see that you saw the workaround that I gave. So I hope that you found this video helpful. And let me know what you think. If you like what you're learning on the channel or what I'm sharing. If I'm teaching you anything, let me know. Give the video a like. Share it with a friend. I'm just a regular person just trying to share my journey to keep myself motivated and to continue my learning process with this machine. So thanks again for watching.